Coming up on this week's Weird News, we have stories about fish, inappropriate book characters, how Germany got payback time, and the guy who's drunk on chips.
And now, it's time for this week's Weird News with Daniel Bryan.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of this week's Weird News. Thanks for joining us again for 4 new weird and wonderful news stories from around the world. Thank you to our new followers on Twitter and everyone that's visited our website over the last week. Keep checking back for more updates in addition as we add further things and different ways to contact the show. Or, if you've not been to our website yet, you can access it by going to
www.thisweeksweirdnews.com.
On the show last week, we introduced our first 4 news stories for you all. These stories featured the colour-changing dress that's seen in different colours by different people, the owl that's attacking people at night, a sinkhole in South Korea that swallowed 2 people, and the lengths a guy will go to when late for a job interview. Or, if you've missed any of these stories, you can listen back to our first episode on our website or find us free on the iTunes Store. So, we shall move on with this week's news stories to be featured on the show. This week's stories are from week 10, 2015, or as some people may prefer, the 2nd to the 8th of March.
Story number 1.
Our first story this week is actually a local one to me here in Oxfordshire. Not that this in any way represents the people around here. Has anyone out there got a pet goldfish? If so, you may want to face their bowl away from the speakers now. Back in 2014, there was a trend called neck nominations. I'm not sure how far this trend reached around the world, but looking online there are different reports from different countries, so I guess it spread pretty far. It has been popular among university students in the UK. These neck nominations were where people nominated a friend to drink or swallow a mixture or combination of horrible concoctions. These progressively escalated until there were deaths as a result of extreme alcohol intake, or people drinking stuff they really shouldn't have. There are many reports of people drinking pints of vodka, gin, or a combination of anything that they could find in their kitchens. However, this week, one participant in neck nominations has been in court for causing unnecessary suffering to animals. Back in August last year, Luke posted a video on Facebook of his neck nominations. This video was titled, "Hey Fishy Fishy."
Fishy, fishy, fishy!
Now that's got your heads thinking, hasn't it? The video shows the 26-year-old man trying to swallow a live goldfish. And what accommodates a meal of goldfish? A glass of red? A shot of whiskey? Or why not wash it down with a few glugs of lager? During the video, he spits the fish out on the floor and it's still moving. Because of this video, the RSPCA were alerted and an investigation began. Later in the video, he does actually manage to swallow the fish and seems rather proud of himself for doing so. In Oxford Magistrates Court this week, his defence claimed that he was deeply ashamed of what had happened and that he was extremely intoxicated at the time. Do you think this gives him some kind of forgiveness, or we should understand why he did it? After the case, Luke was charged with the suffering of animals and given a 12-month community order and told to do 120 hours of unpaid work. Hopefully not in a zero pet shop. He also had a fine of £500 and a £60 victim surcharge. To top this off, he's also been banned for keeping fish for 5 years. Good luck to the fish after that. Clearly, neck nominations got out of hand and caused some unnecessary deaths. But in instances like this, where the individual did not die, do you agree he should have been pulled up on this? Or do you think the punishment was fair? Get in touch and we can discuss your views on next week's show.
Fishy, fishy, fishy!
Story number 2.
The 5th of March was World Book Day, a celebration around the world of authors, illustrators, books and reading itself. It's mainly aimed at young people to get them into reading. The organisation behind the day is the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organisation, or UNSECO for short. Now, in its 18th year, the day has been adopted by a majority of schools in the UK. One of the traditions of which is to dress up as one of your favourite characters from a book, thus giving way to a guessing game of who you are supposed to be. Obviously, there are hands full of Harry Potters, Tracy Beakers and Bella Swans. But one 11-year-old boy went for a slightly different approach. Dressed in a formal grey suit, complete with a white shirt and a black tie. Any ideas yet? Teachers at the school told him he could not participate in World Book Day celebrations. This included not being involved in the school photos unless he changes his character. The school suggested that he should be James Bond from Ian Fleming's famous novels. But who was the boy meant to be?
Mr. Grey will see you now.
Well, this 11-year-old boy decided to go to World Book Day as Christian Grey from the books 50 Shades of Grey, the erotic fiction book that has now been adapted into a film and bringing in large amounts of money around the world. The film itself in the UK is rated as an 18, so was this a suitable character for an 11-year-old boy? Teachers at the school obviously thought not, and insisted that he change to James Bond. The boy's mum is now accusing the school of double standards, as numerous other characters depicted what she believed were also classed as inappropriate. One teacher was dressed as a blood-splattered forensic expert from Dexter. The boy's outfit also consisted of a black face mask and cable ties to go with the book's character. The boy's mother insists that her son has not read the book, nor has he seen the film. She does, however, understand that he is aware of the book's sexual nature. What do you think? Will the school right to stop him from joining in and making him change his character? Should the boy's mother have even prevented him from adopting this character to begin with? And how does he know what the book's contents are? Get in touch with your views.
Story number 3.
Ever really need the loo and there was none anywhere to be found? Or walked down an alley and been greeted by the pleasant odour that someone has left behind? Well, it's pee-back time in one German city. In St. Pauli, they've had enough of people urinating in public places, that they've come up with a scientific method to try and put people off. Popular peeing places have been coated in a new super hydrophobic paint. This paint creates a waterproof layer that repels any fluids, causing it to bounce back. The resulting effect is that if anyone takes a leak against it, it bounces back against their legs. Cruel or karma? To accompany the paint, and to give individuals a chance of redemption before being soaked in their own urine, various signs have been placed around the city, warning people not to pee here, we pee back. So, if you live in St. Pauli, be careful. From now on, it's pee back time. And for those who are listening in Germany...
Seht euch vor, St. Pauli pinkelt ab sofort zurück.
Story number 4.
Our final story this week is about getting drunk. Many people do this regularly, and for some, it's a problem. The resulting effect for both, however, is that it costs a lot of money, right? Well, friends and family of Nick Hess were worried and concerned about their friend's drinking habits. On many occasions, his wife confronted him and accused him of having a drink addiction, and she even resorted to searching the house and looking for a hidden stash. Nick protested his innocence and denied drinking, and on each occasion, no hidden stash was found. Nick reported feeling ill for no apparent reason on many occasions, with stomach pains and headaches. After a doctor's visit, he was diagnosed with autobrewery syndrome. This rare condition is where the stomach produces too much yeast and turns carbohydrates into alcohol. As a result, all Nick has to do is eat too many chips, potatoes or pasta, and he'll become sozzled. His wife was concerned there was something wrong when they were sat watching TV one evening. No alcohol was being consumed, and Nick's speech began to slur, and alcohol could be smelt on his breath. However, being with him the whole evening, she knew he had not been secretly consuming alcohol. As a result of his diagnosis, Nick has been placed on antifungal drugs and given a low-carb diet. However, even with these precautions, he is still experiencing 1 or 2 drunken episodes each month. For this man, something that many people enjoy perfectly normally has become something of a fight, having to assess what he eats and how much at each time. How do you think you would cope in this position? Do you see him as fortunate, or you wouldn't mind it? Get in touch with the show, and we'll tell the world your views. So there we have it. This week's 4 weird and wonderful news stories from this week's Weird News. Hopefully, you found some of them interesting enough to tell your friends, or even write to us with your views. Remember, you can do this in one of the following ways.
Comment on Facebook at facebook.com/thisweeksweirdnews or on Twitter @weeksweirdnews.
Or you can go to our website, where you will find all these contact details and more about the show. To do this, go to
www.thisweeksweirdnews.com.
Thank you for listening, and hopefully we will see you next week for some more weird and wacky news from around the world.
Join us next time for more weird and wonderful news from around the world. Only on This Week's Weird News. Goodbye.
Fishy, fishy, fishy!